Welcome to episode 57, Thomas Edison, the greatest inventor of all time. This is an outline of episode 57. We study Thomas Edison because he's the greatest inventor of all time. Steve Jobs came close. Unfortunately, he died in his 50s.
There was something about this guy that seems to have fit their vision of what the great American inventor ought to be like. Self-taught, good storyteller, he's both down to earth and also at the same time the genius, right? He combines those elements so nicely.
And here is Thomas Edison's most famous saying: genius is 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration. Thomas Edison, the early years.
The night of February 11th, 1847, in a small red brick house in Milan, Ohio, the home of the man who ran the town shingle factory. His is one of the great American sagas. Some say the greatest. It started humbly.
Disaster number one. After 3 months of school, Edison was kicked out. The teachers labeled him a troublemaker. His mother came to the rescue. His mother was the genius educator.
Her method was reading, writing, and arithmetic.
Edison loves reading. He would read the whole library.
Deafness drove me to reading. My refuge was the Detroit Public Library. I didn't read a few books. I read the library.
Disaster number two. He became partially deaf as a teenager.
2 accidents occurred. First, he became partially deaf.
At age 12, he left home and began his business adventure.
Any 12-year-old boy would naturally go down to the railroad station to seek his fortune. Tom Edison talked the Grand Trunk Railway into giving him the job of selling candy and newspapers on the daily run from Port Huron to Detroit. He also talked the conductor into giving him a corner of the baggage car. In this corner, he set up a chemical laboratory.
He taught himself to be a telegraph operator at the time of the American Civil War. More importantly, he taught himself electricity. Later in his life, his electric inventions would make him world famous. In 1869, at the age of 22, Edison moved to New York City, seeking fame and fortune.
He spent the next several years bouncing from one short-lived partnership to another, mainly developing and manufacturing small lots of telegraphic devices on contract. But he was meticulous and tenacious, and no technical challenge could cow him.
Edison got his first invention. He invented the universal stock ticker. He sold it to Western Union for $40,000.
But he was working harder than he was worrying, and he invented the universal stock ticker, his first major invention. Western Union paid him $40,000 for it. He took the money and invested in a dream.
Now, Edison was young and rich. He would use his money to start a family. More importantly, for the rest of the world, he would build his dream lab in Menlo Park, New Jersey. He had just created the world's first invention factory.
And also he had his laboratory, which could outdo anybody else.
Close by the house, the main laboratory building was connected to the outside world by telegraph wires.
Edison's invention factory would grind out 1,093 patents, still a world record.
I produce a minor invention every month and a major one every 6 months.
In 1877, at the age of 30, he invented the phonograph, the first voice recording machine in the world. From a near-deaf person, he has done the impossible.
Finally, they settled on a design in which a sheet of foil was mounted on a hand-cranked cylinder.
Mary had a little lamb. His face was white as snow, and everywhere that Mary went, the lamb was sure to go.
He named it the phonograph. It became the sensation of the day and age. The 31-year-old inventor was invited to the White House to demonstrate his machine for President Hayes.
Major invention number 3. Edison invented the light bulb in 1879. He was 32 years old.
There were occasions when he had financiers out to Menlo Park to give him a flattering behind-the-scenes demonstration of what they were working on. There was impatience, but there was also a lot of expectation.
There can be no particle of doubt in anyone's mind, raved the New York Herald, that the electric light is a success, and a permanent one.
Disaster number 3. His first wife, Mary Stilwell, died in 1884. Edison was 37.
In the year 1886, he was 39 years old when he married Nina Miller, herself the daughter of an inventor.
And Edison would work harder than anyone alive. He hardly sleep. He regards sleep as an opportunity lost.
On a small cot, he took his famous cat naps.
I never found need of more than 4 or 5 hours sleep in the 24. People talk of loss of sleep as a calamity. They better call it loss of time, vitality, opportunity.
Disaster number 4. The bruising fight with Nikola Tesla over AC versus DC.
Toast the rivalry and toast both of them.
Nikola Tesla, a Serbian electrical engineer, arrived in America in 1884. He brought with him the solution to Edison's problem. Tesla was an engineer and mathematician to abandon direct current and develop an electrical grid using alternating current, AC. Tesla's theory won. Here's the story. Edison built hundreds of DC plants around the world. He realized that there was a huge market for electric light. But there was one technical problem he had not resolved. The electricity lost energy as it traveled through the wires. Once the wires from the generator exceeded 2 kilometers long, there was not enough electrical energy left to turn on a light bulb. Every customer had to be within 2 kilometers of the power plant. This phenomenon was called line loss, a serious problem for Edison. There was no obvious solution.
Disaster number 5. He lost $2 million and wasted 10 years on mining. It was an iron ore mine in New Jersey.
At times, even to Edison, the enterprise seemed cursed. Machinery malfunctioned. Buildings collapsed. More than once, the plant had to be shut down for lack of cash. Having steered clear of partners, Edison had to shore up the venture with his personal fortune again and again, eventually selling even his shares in General Electric to keep it afloat.
His next major invention would be the motion pictures. Edison was almost 50 years old.
The first motion picture entertainment device was a ingenious contraption that allowed you to see a loop of film, a very short loop.
Disaster number 6. His first Menlo Park Lab was burned down in 1919. Edison was 67 years old, and he would rebuild his lab from scratch. Today, you can visit the rebuilt lab or the Invention factory of Thomas Edison, West Orange, New Jersey. What have I learned today? Thomas Edison is a most complex genius. He was an inventor, a scientist, and a businessman all into one. He was right 50% of the time. He paid dearly when he got it wrong. The greatest inventor of all time, Thomas Edison also made many mistakes and met many disasters. Here's a list of his 6 major disasters. Thank you for watching. Please leave your comments and questions below. My next video will be Thomas Edison 14 Lessons. Wishing everyone peace and prosperity.